Jim Austin with the Austin Hour. We're here in the Stockyards at the Stockyards Podcast Recording Studios in the Fort Worth Historic Stockyards. We're up here on 21st and Main. We're on the second floor of the National Multicultural Western Heritage Museum. And, of course, we're on Jim Austin Online, but this is my new podcast show, which we talk about commercial real estate, opportunities. We talk about people that make a difference in our community, and we let you know what's going on. It's all about the hookup. I'm also known as the Fresh Prince of commercial real estate. So been around a while, so we've got a great guest in the studio. We've been friends, I know, over 30 years. We might straighten it out today. His name is Dewayne Washington. How you doing, Dewayne?
Man, I am doing great. Glad to be here. How you doing?
Man, I am feeling good. I'm feeling good. We're up here on Saturday at 12 noon, breaking it down. I know you're getting ready to get on the road.
Yeah, man. I've been traveling all over the place. It's been interesting. While part of the country is hunkered down and in isolation for whatever reason, some of the things that we do are they require our services all over. So we're going all over the place.
Well, you my main man. We've been boys for quite a while. You asked me to serve on your board, Gentlemen's Society, and I'm a board member, and I'm gonna have to do better. But Dewayne, where are you from? Where'd you grow up?
Man, I grew up right here in Funky Town, USA, Fort Worth, Texas. Yeah, man. Born here, raised here.
Harris Hospital.
I don't know what hospital. Okay. I have to go back and look. I don't even know. But right here. Went from high school from Polytechnic, and graduated over at O.D. White High School back in the day.
Walter Dansby.
Walter, and see, I was there the first year he came. Okay. And when I tell you that I learned a lot, because I won't say his name, but the principal before us was an extremely bad leader. And I didn't, as a kid growing up back then, everyone who was over you is supposed to be a good leader. And it was really the first time I actually seen bad leadership up front. He had, literally, I was at a magnet school, and I had cops pulling guns on me, and it was because of some things that he implemented in school. And he literally lied a couple of times to my face. And so when Walter Dansby came, it was like night and day. And I watched the school change. We made state we went to state in whiz quiz. I mean, who goes to state in whiz quiz? Dunbar High School, shout out to all the Wildcats out there. We love you guys. They had went to state 150 years straight in basketball, except for the year Walter Dansby came to ODY. We went to state in basketball and in football. And I watched how one person can change the attitude of an entire school. Like by himself. The school didn't change. The teachers didn't change. Only the leadership. And he single-handedly changed the fabric of the school and really, really allowed me to see how important leadership really is.
Well, I'm going to do a shout-out to my boy, Walter Dansby. Walter was my next-door neighbor. I sold him his home where he lives now. But, Walter was the man, and I'm glad to hear your comments about Mr. Dansby. And as I walk around town, people always come up to me and say, "Are you Mr. Dansby?"
You do kind of look like him a little.
I said, "No, I'm Jim Austin." I'm tired of people thinking I'm Walter Dansby. And
he's a good guy, though, man.
A community joke, and sometimes people ask him, "Is he Jim Austin?" So,
I watched him do something that I still haven't seen done, and I'm not, no bad to anyone else who's done it. I just hadn't seen it done except for him. We go to most places, you see schools, you see jocks playing football, and they get some type of bad rap as not being a great student, but being a great athlete, and they just be able to pass them because they're a great athlete. Walter took the kids in the magnet school, and he paid all of us, right, to tutor the football kids. right? And what that did, not only did it of course, help the football team out from one perspective, but it bridged the gap. Because usually you wouldn't have magnet kids hanging out with football players.
Right.
And let me tell you, that was a lot of years ago, right? To this day, we're all still friends. To this day. And it was something that he actually fostered in all of his genius, saying, hey, look, if we see a deficiency over here, how do we utilize the resources that we already have? And quite honestly, probably save money, because I'm sure paying a 16-year-old kid to tutor is a whole lot more cost effective than paying another tutor to come in. And we probably did a better job, just because, the camaraderie that we have, we understand the teachers that we have, and a different level of patience, because we have nothing else to do but to help you. And we got a chance to hang out with each other and form these relationships that have lasted a lifetime.
Well, when you talk about Walter Dansby, we could take our 20 minutes and just talk about what Walter's meant to the community to go on and become the superintendent of schools. So I'm going to try to, keep a handle on this show, this interview, because this
the
is
Walter Dansby show.
This Walter Dansby show, so I'm telling he needs his own podcast. But, we've interviewed some pretty big people on the Austin File, and the Austin File is on Jim Austin Online. And as I said, we're talking with people that make a difference. And Dewayne Washington makes a difference in this community, because I told him when he sat down, I said, Dewayne, if you're good, you're going to get 2 20-minute shows today. So, because there's a lot of corners with Dewayne Washington. He's a musician. I used to say he was one of the baddest saxophone players in the Metroplex, so he's a bad boy there. He's a videographer. He has a company, FaceTime Productions, and he has a ministry. He's a young minister that's saving souls and all over the world. Then he has a nonprofit, the Gentleman's Society, and there's some other things. So we could literally be here an hour with Dewayne, finding those corners and the things that he's doing. But Dewayne, you and I go back quite a while, and we're working on some big projects ourselves right now. We've been doing live music. We did Grown Folks Jazz for 2 months. We're virtual.
All virtual.
Yeah. We're trying to be ahead of the curve, because a lot of time as an entrepreneur, you got to know when to swerve. And we doing a mean swerve.
You got to
right
pivot.
Now. Pivot.
You got to pivot.
Yeah, we pivoting because, my event center was shut down. My museum was shut down. And I'm enjoying working with you because, me and him up at 5 in the morning. And he's doing his thing, I'm doing my thing. So we're getting ready to start a new product called virtual fundraising.
Yeah, absolutely. So in the spirit of pivoting, the states across the country have been shutting down, and people haven't been able to get together as they normally would, and that's hurting a lot of people, right? And one segment of the population is hurting is the nonprofits as they attempt to do their fundraising. As an executive director of a nonprofit, I'm telling you, like all executive directors know, your number one job is to raise money. And so when you can't do what you normally would do, have that big concert or that big gathering or that gala that you used to be able to have, it's like, well now, for a lot of nonprofits, the amount of work has not decreased, it has increased. And so you had to figure out, once again, that using that word pivot, we have to figure out how to pivot what you're offering and how to get that to people. So you may have been offering food or some type of social services. Well, people didn't stop needing to eat. Kids didn't stop needing to be mentored, but you had to pivot that and figure out, how do I supply those services? And in some situations, it's actually costing nonprofits more to supply the same type of services that they supplied prior to COVID-19. And so you have the expense going up, the demand going up in some cases, but the resources are depleting. They're going down. So how do we raise money? And they're scrambling to figure that out. And so one of the things that we sat and talked about is, the old school telethon. Right? To have a situation where you have a place where people, there may be a band or something like that, to be able to entertain on one side, but on the other side have the goal of having that phone ring back in the day, but nowadays people going online to be able to give. And so here's a product now we can offer to nonprofits saying, hey, we can bring that telethon type thing back, but in the digital age. Provide you with the space to come in. All of the ability to be able to broadcast is already there, just like you would a television show. 4-camera broadcast, 4K. So it is a phenomenal broadcast. And so you can have all of this quality, low price and the whole nine, so that you'll be able to say, we can still be able to raise money. Now, the great thing about that is that because it's virtual, back in the day, and you know as well as I do, like we've thrown galas, we've gone to galas, and we sold tickets to galas to be able to raise money. Well, there's two problems with that. It's a finite time and a finite space, right? So people have to be available at that time. They have to be able to get to that space on that day and time, right? Whenever we talk about the virtualizing that gala or that telethon, well, now you eliminate both of those things. So because we're streaming, you don't have to be able to get to Fort Worth, Texas at 7 p.m., right? You can be in Dubai, at 5 o'clock in the morning. You can be on the West Coast. You can be in Hawaii. It doesn't matter where you are, so the location is totally taken away. And because we actually do give you a tape of this back, now the time is no longer a factor. You can broadcast that whenever you want to after the fact. So we can broadcast it live all over the world, but then you can have it come back on your YouTube page or on your Facebook page, and be able to do that on a daily basis if you want to be able to raise money. And so it's really taking the concept of fundraising and globalizing it, and reducing the cost while allowing them to be able to reach more people, not only right away, but over time as well.
Well, Dewayne, you and I are entrepreneurs, and I consider us both serial entrepreneurs. You're doing some things, I'm doing some things, and we're putting our magic together. You're a videography company, production company and staff. I control the warehouse over on Berry Street. It's a 4,000 square foot facility that we turned into a recording studio. So, just imagine a recording studio that we're in right now. We're in the Stockyards podcast recording studio. This is maybe 250 square feet. We now have a 4,000 square foot facility. So we've put together our muscle together. And we brought in a couple other partners, Michelle Krim, who does grant writing and event planning. So she's in the two. And then we got another partner, Chuck Darling, that does virtual auctions, live and silent. So we put that into the play, and we're now offering that to nonprofits.
Yeah.
You can call my office, the Austin Company, 817-923-9305, or you can go on the website, info@GemAustinOnline. So we're going to be reaching out to probably a couple of hundred nonprofits to help them with a platform to be able to raise money.
Absolutely.
And we've got the proposal done. We've submitted it to a very large national organization, and we're in the run right now for consideration, and 4 cameras, and it's just like coming right in your living room. A lot of people using these iPhones to look at their information. I mean,
there's some places around the world where the technology has leapfrogged. They don't have a television, but they've got a smartphone. They don't have a land phone, but they've got a smartphone, and so all that information is coming through there. And so now, imagine being able to touch and reach those places, and not be just I've got to find the right people in the right places in the Metroplex. What that also allows you to do, because quite honestly, let's be honest, whenever we throw a gala, we want to invite the right people.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean. You know what I'm saying? So that you can raise the money that I've been in the room and I've seen a lot raised at one time, and so, but you've got to have the right people in the room. So now imagine, because of the economy of scale, you no longer need just a room full of people who can donate 20, 30, $40,000. Because if you can get your message out to 50, 60,000 people around the world, well, now the 10, 20, $30 giver becomes just as important as the 20,000 giver. Because you don't have a room of 300 people, you have an online presence of 50,000 people, right? And so, once again, just the economy of scale alone, and you don't have the cost associated with it. Before, now if you gone to a gala, those chicken dinners may not have tasted all that great, but let me tell you something, that's probably the most expensive meal you ate that day.
Sure.
Because they do cost. So now you don't have the same amount of cost associated with each individual people that virtually attends your telethon.
Call us, because right now you got to be thinking outside the box. And 2021 is around the corner, and a lot of people are trying to figure out what they're going to do. And instead of having 800, 600, 800 people in a banquet and you raising money, we're doing it virtually. With maybe a speaker, a band, and the band can be virtual also. But you can save a lot of money by coming out and working with Jim and Dewayne on their new project. Raising money virtually for nonprofits. So, Dewayne, I can't believe it's been 20 minutes. So what I'd like to do is we're going to take a pause for the cause, because advertisers is very important to keep, the lights on.
Very important.
And moving it forward.
Thank you to the advertisers.
So I want to thank you for tuning into, the Austin File on my new podcast show on Jim Austin Online. So we're going to take a short break, and then we're going to come back, because there's some other things that I want to talk to Dewayne about, because he's a very interesting character, and he is my friend, but he's a moving target. I've never tried to take a shot at him, but we're going to come back with Dewayne in a few minutes, so don't leave us. Hey everybody, this is your boy Jim Austin, and I'm back here at the Austin File, here in the Stockyards Podcast Recording Studio up on 21st and Main. Stop by and see me sometime. The coffee's always hot, I promise you. And you can go downstairs and check out the National Multicultural Western Heritage Museum. Yes. So what we're doing is we took a break. I'm bringing back my main man, Dewayne Washington. Has a lot of different curves to Mr. Washington. One of the things, Dewayne, that I want to talk to you about, because you're a musician, that the COVID virus has really devastated the entertainment business. Nightclubs closing down, entertainment venues closing down. I've been affected personally. My warehouse has been shut down. But give me your opinion on the struggle of musicians, is how it's affected you as a entertainer.
Well, when you look at musicians, I really put them into basically two very, very broad categories, right? They are I'll call them the players and the shakers, right? And players are those people that they get a phone call, they show up, and they come and they play, whether it's keyboard, piano, whatever. So someone calls, we have a gig, come and play this gig. And then the shakers are those people who are actually creating those gigs. Maybe it's a band leader that's either calling to find out or creating concerts for them. And usually the players rely on the creators or the shakers one way or another. Either they're waiting for a promoter to call or another artist that's going on tour to call so they can go be on that tour. Or on a small stage, you have maybe a local coffee shop or a local restaurant that's having music. They're relying on those people. And now none of all of that is pretty much disappeared. So if you're the drummer that has relied on the band leader, or if you're a freelance drummer, you've relied on other bands to call you to come play, well, those calls have all but disappeared. If you are the guy that's used to getting the phone call to go and tour, well, those tours have been canceled. And though my mom my mom used to say a long time ago, she was like, so let me get this straight. So you play a gig, and then you do nothing, and then you play another gig. So she said, basically, you're unemployed to the next gig, right? And if you think about it that way, that creates perpetual unemployment for these musicians. And so whenever you have a main industry hit, all the trickle-down effects happen. So the people who are serving food in these places, and the people who are, in this case, playing music in these places, there is no theoretically speaking, there's no place for them to go, right? I mean, so it's not like this drumming ability is good for anything other than playing drums. And so now the players have to, if they're going to survive, they have to develop a new skill. And so to all those musicians out there, if you're that guy, and this is not saying one is better than the other, we need all kinds. But if you've been the type of person that's been relying on that phone call, well, now it's time you've got to start making some changes. So maybe it's you set up a website and you start teaching virtually, so that you can teach people drumming across the world. Maybe it's that you create a master class, grab your iPhone and create a class that you can sell to people across the planet that's dealing with the same things, and maybe they just want to be able to get better with their drumming. But it's going to require retooling, and so it's been tough. As a matter of fact, here in the Metroplex, I mean, I seen overnight how people went from gigs everywhere to nothing. And I've got friends that have only played music. They haven't done anything else in the last 30 years. And all of a sudden, they went from working every single day of the week to not working at all. And you had something come up, really, even with the, you said when your place got shut down, the whole nine, and being able to retool and do some virtual concerts that I don't even know if you know how huge that is, to allow that musician, this literally starving artist now, to come in and say, I got a place to be able to play. Social distancing is in place. It's weird for them because there's no audience live, but then there's a virtual audience for them to play to. Once again, getting used to doing that different type of skill. But with the grown folks jazz, that was great. With the Juneteenth that you had, here's a situation where I don't know of any festival that actually happened since COVID, other than the virtual thing that you had with Juneteenth, right? So none of us have gotten any calls or seen every single thing has been canceled. Live Nation has canceled hundreds and hundreds of concerts, thousands of concerts, and those musicians are left holding the bag. And here we have, a virtual situation that happens so that those artists can actually come into play. And the cool thing is, some of those musicians played for multiple bands, so they were able to come in and make some money to feed their family, which is extremely important. And so thanks to you. Thanks for everybody who supported that as well. I know there's some other opportunities coming up to even support that even more, because that helps those artists. And so if you have an artist in your family, reach out to them, check on them, see how they're doing. They entertain for a living. When people talk about, I'm going to a show, you're going to see them work. Keep that in mind. Like that is what they do for a living. They don't get the luxury of enjoying it the way you're enjoying it. That is their job. And so when they're not able to do that, and not able to express that creativity, sometimes they're not okay. So check on them, see how they're doing, see what you can do to be able to support them in whatever they're doing. And you may be calling someone who is more like a player than a mover, a player than a shaker. And you might be able to partner with them. Maybe you got some great ideas from a marketing perspective, or you're able to build great websites, whatever. Get with them. See if now's the time for us to come together and utilize our skills together and see if you can help them out.
Well, Dewayne, we started out open to the public. COVID shut down the warehouse, and we changed to virtual. So we did for 2.5 months Grown Folks Jazz every Thursdays with some of the top jazz bands in the Metroplex came through there. So that was exciting. We recorded them. Then we jumped into a fundraiser, Juneteenth, virtual music festival. And we had 12 bands in 2 days, man.
Yeah, that was awesome.
That was really, really awesome. I mean, folks still talking about those bands that came through. So we're getting ready to chop it up, put it into a virtual concert, and we'll be coming out in about 2 weeks. So stay tuned to Jim Austin Online, and because Juneteenth, we were live. A lot of Juneteenths were shut down because of COVID, but we were live. And out of that, Dewayne and I are talking about a new project, and we kind of run out of time again, but it's going to be called, what's it? Well, should we be talking about, well, we'll just tell you. It's going to be called Showtime at the Warehouse. It'll be a talent show looking for all types of talent, and you'll be hearing about that. We're going to crank that out in about 2 weeks. And kind of look for it. I'm so excited. It's a competition, and cash prizes and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, here's another opportunity for people to showcase their talent, for people to see it around the world, and the opportunity for you to get some money in your pocket at the same time. So I'm excited about it as well. We've been kicking it around, and it's coming to fruition now. So stay tuned.
We had over 100,000 views on Facebook for the Grown Folks Jazz. Some of them bands was pushing it hard. You can go back right now. Go Grown Folks Jazz, go to YouTube, and you can see some of that talent. But this is your guy, this is your friend, Jim Austin. Jim Austin Online. Check out my new podcast show called The Austin File. If you're interested in doing your own podcast, give us a call and we'll get you set up. But that's the way to be in touch. So be safe, stay home, wear your mask, and do the right thing. Thanks a lot, Dewayne.
Appreciate you.